EA Sports. It's in the game. Yep, you've got one guy going boom, the other guy going whap, and the guy trying to run it in for the score, and he's going nowhere.
I just scraped it off the top, cut it out the road, out the curve, out the block. I was already sold out of work by 10 o'clock. Too deep in the streets, felt that pain, but it meant a lot. Whenever she calls, know what I gotta do. I'm moving with a two, I paid it out the full. Yeah, tell me what I gotta do. Pull up in a bucket crew, one for me and one for you. Yeah, like with the roof.
Well, ain't it nice to see a familiar face? Welcome to another year of football with Madden NFL 23. Before we get accessibility settings. Accessibility settings.
Yeah, these bigger than a damn proxy. Call my he said copy. Get that plug like a boogie. I like riches, hit like nookies. You ain't scared of no, but you scared to put on your hoodie. Man, my like Woody. I just scraped it off the top, cut it out the road, out the curve, out the block. I was already sold out of work by 10 o'clock. Too deep in the streets, felt that pain, but it meant a lot. Whenever she calls, know what I gotta do. I'm moving with a two, I paid it out of full.
Toys, convoys, 100 carats on my neck, my boy. That 100 bunny rabbits tryna get my boy. From the cabbage I collect, my boy. Heard you is gorillas, let me check, my boy. Say nothing silly, you regret, my boy. Cause we got banana on the
accessibility settings.
And I can send it in a text, my boy. Thumbs up or the emoji with the flex, my boy. Personalize every threat, my boy. Toll free. That's direct, my boy. And if you need a couple, I'm to connect, my boy, off the top.
I just scraped it off the top, cut it out the road, out the curve, out the block. I was already sold out of work by 10 o'clock. Too deep in the streets, felt that pain, but it meant a lot. Whenever she calls, know what I gotta do. I'm moving with a two, I paid it out of full.
This is a special presentation of EA Sports from the Coliseum in Oakland, our tribute to the coach, the John Madden Legacy Game. I'm Brandon Gaudin here to take you through the proceedings, and coming up, we're going to tell the story of a man who was truly larger than life and whose impact on the sport of football certainly is going to live on for decades and decades to come. Now, we've assembled a couple of rosters featuring some of Coach's favorite players from both yesterday and today, and Coach himself will be on the sidelines for both squads, trying to motivate his guys to victory. And I'm joined now by my good friend Charles Davis. CD, your thoughts on John Madden and what he meant to the sport he loved so much?
For me, Brandon, it's the word joy. He brought that to the game of football, brought the game to so many people. He stayed involved his entire life. And moving forward, when you think of football, you're always going to think John Madden.
One time for old times. What do you say we play some football as we are underway from Oakland in the John Madden Legacy Game? And they will elect to not bring this one out as our first drive will begin at the 25. So it's the NFC stars who will get the ball first. And, Charles, as we alluded to, we've got a different era of coach on each sideline. So the man coaching this NFC squad, we'll call him young John Madden, this is a coach who was trying to establish a foothold in the NFL and on the cusp of doing it very successfully.
Yeah, you think back to that period, those early days as the coach of the Raiders, the late 60s in the AFL and then in the NFL in the early 70s. Coach was a guy who was ahead of his time. The Raiders were one of the first teams to have mini camps, one of the first to film practice, because he wanted to practice coaching as much as he could. And his teams, they were successful right from the start of his head coaching tenure.
Looking left side, and he's got a man. That's Rice. So as we mentioned at the top, let's take you through the life of John Madden. And, you know, it's very fitting that we're here back in the Bay Area, not just because John's so associated with Raider football, but also because this was where he spent his formative years.
Yeah, he grew up over in Daly City with his buddy John Robinson, who would also become an NFL head coach. And he played his high school ball at Jefferson High, eventually wound up playing tackle at the University of Oregon and later Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Played well enough that in 1958, he was a 21st round draft pick of the Philadelphia Eagles. That's right, the draft had 30 rounds then.
So their task a little bit more difficult now. 2nd and 13 that they're walking up on. Shotgun snap, and then the give to Sanders. And they get him behind the line, so that short gain on first down quickly negated. But Charles, you mentioned Coach was a 21st round draft pick back in 1958. It was the Philadelphia Eagles who selected him. But unfortunately for John, knee problems, they just continued to dog him. He was hurt in his first training camp, actually never saw the field as a player in the NFL. But it was still during his time with the Eagles, you and I were talking about this before going on air, that you could start to see the light bulb going on for what his career path might entail.
And it went on in a big way, didn't it? Because while he was rehabbing his knee, he started to spend a lot of time breaking down film with the Eagles, with quarterback Norm Van Brocklin, the future Hall of Famer and future head coach in the NFL. Remember, Van Brocklin coached with the Falcons, he coached with the Vikings. And it was there, during that time, I think Coach Madden realized his love of football and love for teaching, combining all that together, and that meant being a football coach. So in 1960, began his coaching career at a small college south of San Luis Obispo called Allen Hancock, and then later at San Diego State University under another legendary coach, the guy who could throw it around pretty well, Don Coryell.
So, Charles, as mentioned, we've got another Coach Madden over here on the AFC sideline. Of course, his Raiders, members of the AFC West. So this is a conference he battled in for his entire career. He's got a man, complete, 20, touchdown. Andre Reed, 75 yards. And the AFC has taken the early lead. I don't think you can get any more efficient or tidy, whatever word you want to use in that. Man, one play, 75 yards in zone.
Yeah, efficient, tidy, excellent words. How about explosive? 75 yards, one play. That means everyone handled their assignment, doesn't it? It doesn't just mean that the defense broke down. They really executed the way that was drawn up on the whiteboard. Big-time play, big-time result.
And here's Vinatieri now to kick it away after the touchdown. Hester going to decide against a return, and they will spot this at the 25. Ready to begin their next drive here, the NFC offense. Defense got the better of them last series, forcing a punt. See if they make a few changes in the game plan here and try to get points out of this drive. 1st and 10. Charles, you know, it was in the early 1960s that a young John Madden made the acquaintance of the owner of the Oakland Raiders, one Al Davis, of course. So the two, they really bonded, would become one of the best owner-coach duos in NFL history. And to take it a step further, Al Davis became someone who John referred to as his best friend.
Yeah, 1967, Brandon. Al Davis hired Coach Madden to be a linebackers coach. Remember, this was still the AFL at that point. We had not merged totally with the NFL. And Coach Madden, he paid dividends almost immediately. Helped the Raiders win the AFL title in 1968. And that meant a date with the Green Bay Packers in what was now known as Super Bowl II. But by 1969, at the age of 32, just 32, Brandon, John Madden assumed the mantle of head coach of the Oakland Raiders. And what a ride he, the Raiders, and the NFL were about to go on. I remember when I was a kid and all I wanted was a nickel so I could get that soda down at the fountain. And guess what? The nickel came into play well. 5 defensive backs, they covered well, allowed for the sack.
Sodas were a nickel when you were a kid?
No, I just needed the extra nickel so I could pay the proper price.
Okay, how much were they? A dime? What were they?
15 cents.
Taking it about the 36. Great blocking, nearly sprung in there. 28-yard return. And it'll be a short field ahead as the AFC takes over, 1st and 10. To throw, it's Brady. That one complete down the field to Gonzalez. And he's taken down, but not before reaching the 10-yard line. Charles, you talked about John Madden and the Raiders going on a ride. Well, try these numbers on for size. In 10 seasons as a head coach, the Raiders won their division 7 times. They finished second the other 3 times, and he became the youngest coach to amass 100 career regular season victories and is still, to this day, the franchise leader in wins.
And when you think about it, that's where that rivalry with Kansas City really took root.
And he is into the end zone for an AFC touchdown. Jerome Bettis, a 5-yard touchdown run. And they are able to add on to their advantage. Another impressive drive, so they're 2 for 2, 2 touchdowns. Charles, a great start to this ball game for them.
And one of the words that's really worked its way into our lexicon is stacking. They've stacked momentum each time out, and not only on offense. Between those touchdowns, defense held, forced to punt to get the ball back, and they've played awfully well in this one. Both sides playing at optimum level.
And here's Vinatieri now to kick it away after the touchdown. And Hester content to hold on to this one and bring it out to the 25. The offense for the NFC ready to get their next drive started. Still in the first half, but this offense has struggled. Haven't really been able to get anything going, not only in the points category, but in the yards category. Let's see if they can do better here on this drive. That one good for 10 yards. And that'll make it 2nd and a foot or so. 2 minutes remain here in the first half of the John Madden Legacy game. We'll be back. A good gain on first has them set up with 2nd and just a couple of inches now from the 29. Here's Favre to throw. The first catch of the game for George Kittle. He's got his first catch here before halftime, and it goes for a first down. Here's a throw to his running back. It's complete. And they'll get him down on the other side of midfield. They're going to need to get up and set in a hurry. Got a man. It's Randy Moss, complete. And he's going to be taken down right at the 40-yard line. This offense finding its legs now. Here's another 1st and 10. To throw is Favre. Trying for Sanders, but this is intercepted. Picked off by Stephon Gilmore. There he goes, right side. And he is going to score. It's a pick-6 and an AFC touchdown. Well, that's what you get, apparently, when you try to take on a Pro Bowl cornerback. And what a play there to make the interception and also bring it back for 6.
And he is so good that we've seen teams absolutely stay away from throwing the ball at him. Here, he's just reading the quarterback's eyes the entire way, makes a great play on the football, and turns it into 6.
Vinatieri able to tack on the PAT. After the pick-6, they go right back to the air. This will be caught by Randy Moss. Now the NFC going to call the first of their 3 timeouts as the clock stops here with 46 seconds remaining in the first half. Play action. It's Favre. He'll get this complete to Cooper Kupp. Now another timeout called for by the offense. So that means they're down to 1 remaining here as we head toward halftime. On first down, Favre. And his throw is incomplete.
Really good coverage all over the field, and took away his intended read and almost dared him to try for his guy out of the backfield. No surprise on that one. It doesn't connect.
He's going to drop this down to Sanders, and he'll be brought down just shy of the 40.
As a passer, you're always trying to find that open window to throw the ball downfield. How about this one? Right in the middle of the field, right in the heart of a defense.
And that is incomplete. 7 seconds remaining. So now they're going to send out the field goal unit to, as they say, fire away from long distance. So this will be spotted on the midfield logo. It's a 58-yard attempt. And this is off target to the left. Didn't get there anyway. It's no good, and this will stay a 3-touchdown game.
Well, Brandon, anything beyond 50, you start rolling the dice a bit. And once you get up around 57, 58 yards, the chances of making it go down dramatically. And sure enough,
so we are at halftime of the John Madden Legacy game, and now we present a special tribute to the man of the hour, narrated by the Raiders' own Trey Mosley.
What comes to mind when you hear the name Madden? Is it the coach who led the Raiders to their first Super Bowl victory? Perhaps it's the broadcaster who entertained millions of fans. Or maybe it's the video game known simply by his name. But no matter what comes to mind when you hear the name Madden, everyone thinks of one thing: football.
The core of it was football. It's the greatest game in the world. The left goes to the right goes to the left.
Madden is on the field. He wants to know if it's real. John Madden goes on the shoulders of his players.
In my mind, John Madden is the most important figure in the history of professional football. Show me somebody else who did it on 3 levels the way John did it. There's nobody.
Boy, Charles, yeah, that is really well done. Coach was something else, wasn't he?
I'm reminded what Al Davis said when he was inducting coach to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Brandon. He loved the game. He loved his team. He loved the Raiders. He loved this league. And you can see it with everything he does.
No doubt. But it's quite possible, though, that now he would say, hey, enough of that. Let's play some football. The second half forthcoming from Oakland. The AFC offense heading back out. You know, Charles, Coach really loved to utilize his tight ends in the passing game. You think about Dave Casper, Hall of Famer for those great Raider teams. And I think he saw a lot of Dave Casper in an all-Madden staple, Tony Gonzalez.
Tony Gonzalez is the type of tight end I think everyone's looking for. He's a guy that can make some big plays from that tight end position. Let me tell you, you better make sure you have him accounted for on every play.
And that's exactly right, because Dave Casper, he could shred defenses down the middle of the field. And that's exactly what Tony Gonzalez did in his entire career. A 14-time Pro Bowl selection. Only Tom Brady has more. There are 6 guys in the 15,000-yard receiving club. He's the only tight end in there. Tony Gonzalez, every snap, you had to know where he was because he could make plays short, medium, and long, and often put the ball in the end zone.
And that is incomplete. The coverage excellent there downfield, and it leads to a 4th down. Here's Ray Guy now. And the way this offense has moved the ball, he hasn't been needed till here in the 3rd. Call that a 45-yard punt, just 2 yards there on the return. And the NFC will take over 1st and 10. Ready to begin their next drive here, the NFC offense. It'll be Sanders to begin the drive. Up past the 25 to the 26, a gain of 5. The first down run got 5. Here's 2nd and 5. Throwing is far. that's going to be incomplete. So now, Charles, to pick up the story we've been telling, John Madden at 42, he just completed a 10-year stint as the coach of the Raiders. He wants to step away a bit from the grind of coaching, but he doesn't want to step away from the game of football. So he ends up signing on with CBS in 1979 to try his hand at broadcasting. And much like his coaching career, it was pretty much an instant success.
Partner, he really connected with the people right from the start, and people may not remember, he wasn't even on the #1 team in the beginning. He worked his way up. But the same things that made him a great coach made him a great broadcaster. The ability to show the big picture, yet break it down into the details. That's what he did with his teams. That's what he did with the people. That way, he was simple to understand, yet insightful for viewers. And he did with that big personality that he had, one that connected with everyone.
Flushed out right. It's just a gain of a couple there on the scramble, and now it's 3rd down. In search of 4 yards here to pick up the first down. Favre. This one into the hands of Kittle, the tight end. And he'll be tackled on the other side of midfield at the 46-yard line. Still in search of their first touchdown of the game, but they're on the move. 1st and 10. Now Favre. Got his man complete over the middle. That's Moss. And they're going to get this down to about the 37. So for Coach Madden, Charles, by 1981, his broadcasting career is really taking off. He's elevated to the network's #1 booth that calls all the big matchups. And he gets the plum assignment of calling Super Bowl 16, 49ers and Bengals, and he's teamed up with Pat Summerall. And that pairing ultimately would go on to be one of the most influential in sports broadcasting history.
Influential not just in us listening to them. Remember, they went on and called 8 Super Bowls together, but how they put together kind of the template that all of us broadcasters follow now. Sitting down with the head coaches and the quarterbacks and the stars of each team before a ball game to get extra information. And the way that those two paired together, Pat Summerall, short, concise, to the point, and turned it over to Coach Madden to fill in all the big details.
At this point in the game, they've got to continue to try anything they can. They're still working at it, even though this one feels like a lost cause.
They're going on 4th down. It's Favre. And he'll be hauled down at about the 30-yard line. As you mentioned, CD, talking about John Madden, the broadcaster, he called 8 Super Bowls with Pat Summerall, 3 more with Al Michaels later in his career. He spent nearly 3 decades in the booth all told. And not only was he beloved for his mannerisms, we know that, but he was an innovator as well.
Yeah, Brandon, you talk about things like the telestrator, which totally became identified with him, and now it's a staple for all analysts to have in the booth. And then you think about things like turducken on Thanksgiving, when he used words like boom and pow. He helped create the old Madden team. He was a very popular commercial pitch man. And even the Madden Cruiser was unique, and you had to be someone to get a ride on it, too. We all know he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league, but definitely not today. His team trailing by multiple touchdowns and a late sack. Just a parting gift from the defense for him to take back to the locker room with him.
Now on 3rd and long, they'll look to throw. Escaping and the pressure gets to him again. Javon Curse providing a little deja vu. Back-to-back sacks, and now they're staring at a 4th and long.
But one thing I do know, these guys on defense, they don't want this game to end. They're winning by multiple touchdowns. They've shut down the opposing quarterback in a big way, and they're still picking up sacks as we approach the end of this one.
So it's the NFC with the football as we welcome you back. They come up on a 4th down situation with things not looking particularly rosy. They'll try and throw for it with Favre. And it's incomplete. They cannot convert, and they turn it over. So good starting field position for them here as they come up 1st and 10 at their own 44. They start the drive with a give to Allen. And good vision there as he's across midfield and down to the 45-yard line. Now, CD, we did get a little ahead of ourselves talking about John Madden, the broadcaster in the 90s and 2000s, because there was another product during that time period that he became quite famous for, and it's something that you and I know a little bit about, and that's the video game that bears his name. Originally John Madden Football when it was first released back in the late 1980s, and now known the world over simply as Madden.
And Coach saw this originally as a way to teach the game of football. The early designs were for a 7-on-7 game, but he said no chance. He would not sign off on it. He wanted to be as realistic as possible. He told him, call me when it's 11-on-11, and he got his wish.
Yeah, after that debut, Madden the video game continued to pick up steam through the 90s in a big way, and John himself, many will remember, was a commentator for the series for many years. And now here we are in the 2020s, and this game has sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 million copies. And Vinatieri's kick is good, and that will extend their lead even further. Well, ultimately not really sure that they're going to need those 3 points, but they'll take the 3 and they pad that lead.
Yeah, this one's already wrapped up, but you and I both know if you're an offensive coordinator, you never let up on the gas unless the head coach tells you to do so. And maybe you've actually clicked him off in your headset so you can keep calling plays and trying to add to this lead.
The offense for the NFC ready to get their next drive started. Well, it's been a struggle so far for this offense, Charles. It's not only that they haven't been able to put the points up, but really stringing yards together has been a real issue for them in this one.
I'm so glad you brought up the yardage because I was thinking to myself, we've seen a lot of NFL games and we've seen our share of lopsided contests, but in almost all of them, both offenses have put up at least 200 yards in a game, but not in this one. This has been a display of offense that, frankly, I think the two of us have watched from behind our hands, trying to spread our fingers wide enough to actually see the result.
And one of the whistles for a timeout. So they'll stop the clock here in a game that's been decided in the closing seconds. On third down, he'll drop to throw. Eluding the pressure right. Man open, it's Moss complete. And they nearly get this all the way. So it's a win here for the AFC on an incredible afternoon of football and remembering the life of John Madden. Before we go, one final message. And for all of us at EA Sports, this one's for you, Coach.
I just say this, I thank you all very much. This has been the sweetest ride of them all.
Time to decide how you're going to make your Madden NFL 23 debut. You could put yourself back on the game's biggest stage and raise that lump. Head on over to the main menu and see the full array of options you've got to work with at Madden NFL 23.
Let me show you how to shine bright. Let me show you how to shine bright. Let me show you how to be a star. Yeah, pull up with a baddie in a fancy car. How to party like a rock star and play guitar like a superstar. Yeah, and I'm so tired of them playing with me.